Just about everyone now knows the importance of copywriting and how impactful it can be to any brand or any brand's marketing or any marketing campaign at all, for a matter of fact. And honestly, most brands have gotten better with their copywriting. With the integrations of AIs and different softwares these days, the average level of copywriting has definitely increased over the past 1 to 3 years. But the difference between good or average and great copywriting is still vast. And for the brands that can achieve great copywriting and leverage this within their marketing, they are still reaping the rewards and performing much better than other brands that have a level of copywriting that is nowadays basically average within the marketplace. And the thing is, customers and consumers have now gotten used to this level of copywriting. So nowadays it's not anything special. And brands, again, have to level up their level of marketing and their copywriting skills in order to perform better. I myself have been copywriting for the past 6, nearly 7 years now. And I still think that it's something that I myself and my team within MCO do best. And it's still pretty much our secret weapon and how we're able to outperform other agencies within our email marketing. Now, the difference between good copywriting and great copywriting usually comes down to two things. A, the research, or put differently, how well the marketer or the brand actually knows their customers and what they actually want and their deep pain points and what motivates them to take action. And then B, or the second part of this, is how they're finalising, how they're editing the copy. Most people and most brands these days have access to the same copywriting AIs, softwares, etc. So the way that you stand apart is, again, A, through research, and then B, through how you're finalising a copy and the little extra touches, the edits that you're making to the copy that the AI or the software spits out is what is really making the difference. As at this time, the pinnacle of copywriting is still being done by humans, and the stuff that AI is putting out isn't as good as what people can do who've been in the trenches and who've been copywriting for 5, 10, 15 plus years. So today I'm going to cover the second part of that, and that's how to edit your copy and make the final touches to make your copywriting much more concise, effective, and convert better. So I've got a document here listing out a few steps that we take internally, and I'm going to walk you through this process so you can use it yourself within your marketing or within your brand to, write better copy. So let's get straight into it. Now, the first step I have here is something that I think is extremely important, and that is to review the key questions that you should be asking yourself when it comes to writing any copy. And that is A, who is reading this? B, where are they now? And then C, what is their main goal or what is their main problem/imperative? If you don't meet your customers where they currently are and speak to what they're currently thinking and the problems that they currently have, then your words are falling on deaf ears. So even though this is arguably a question that you should be asking yourself and you should be considering these three things when you first start writing a copy, I put it here just as a reminder to go through these things again and to make sure that you're writing to the correct person and you're framing your copy in the correct way so that you're meeting your customers where they currently are. Now, the second thing here is lead with impact. This is something that I see brands missing or doing incorrectly a lot. And that is they save their best shoot or they save the best offer, best benefit points or the main problems that they're fixing or the main pain points, etc. They bury it in the copy and they don't lead with it. A quote that a copywriting mentor once told me is lead with your best shit. And that's something that I've taken to heart ever since I've heard it. So if you have a great offer or you're featuring a product benefit or talking to a pain point, then lead with that. Always lead with your best shit. And if you've written your copy already and you're not leading with your best shit and it's not within the lead of the email or the first 30% of the email, then rearrange it and start again. Honestly, it's not worth trying to polish a turd at this point. So start again and don't try and fix something that's ordered in the wrong way. Step 3 is eliminating redundancies or trimming the fat within your copy. A pitfall that AI has is most AIs or most copywriting AIs still write to 100% grammatical correctness or in a way that is more formal or how it would be portrayed in a book or within a website blog or even in a textbook. And the problem with that is copywriting or the main point of copywriting isn't to quote unquote be the most grammatically correct, but is to get the point across or to communicate with someone the most efficient way possible. And oftentimes it doesn't mean writing sentences and paragraphs in the typical ways that the more formal sort of language models would do. So in my opinion, the best way to trim the fat of copy is to put it through a text-to-speech editor or put it through any sort of text-to-speech software. As humans, our verbal language skills are much more efficient compared to our written language skills. And oftentimes we're able to say things in a much more concise way than we are able to write them. By putting a copy through a text-to-speech and having it read back to you, you can hear it and you can hear words that don't necessarily fit in a sentence or aren't necessarily needed. With any sort of word in a sentence that you think may be redundant, you can sort of ask yourself the question, does this sentence work without it? And if that word's not carrying any weight or adding any value or adding any descriptive potency or anything like that to the sentence or to the copy, then just get rid of it. Always make your copy as short as it needs to be. Never ever think to yourself, oh, this email or this copy or this ad needs to be longer. So personally, how I do this is I put it through text-to-speech and I keep doing rounds until I listen to it and it's the most concise copy / the most concise text I could possibly create. And if there's any major blocks or any major facts or segments within your copy that honestly doesn't need to be there and it doesn't serve the main goal of the email, then just get rid of it. Even though it may be a cool fact or a cool benefit or something like that, if it's not a part of the main story or logic path or sort of funnel of the copy to get someone to take one action, then get rid of it. Any redundancy should be removed. Okay, step 4 is testing voice and flow. So a lot of things beginner copywriters struggle with is transitioning between blocks of copy or transitioning between ideas. And most AIs are decent at this and they'll do it better than some beginners. But again, you can usually pretty easily hear poor transitions or what we call hammer transitions, where someone will be talking about one idea and then they'll just immediately switch or hammer onto the next idea. And there'll be no flow between the two. So again, personally, I love using text-to-speech and I'll use this to listen to the copy. And if I hear a point in the text or in the copy where either A, it's a catching point or a hook or there's no clear transition, or B, it's an opportunity for someone to fall off and stop reading because it completes an idea without starting another idea or completes one loop without starting another loop, then I'll merge the two and transition between the two. I've also got brand voice here. Especially with AI, a problem that we're having internally and something that we're currently working on fixing when it comes to writing across multiple clients and multiple brands is a lot of times a copy that the AI spits out is whitewashed, or a lot of the personality / brand voice is taken out of it, especially if the email is coming from a persona or one person or a brand that has a particularly strong personality to it. A lot of AIs these days just can't really encapsulate that brand voice. So this is a good time to add in and change things to better suit the brand. Actionably, it looks like changing adjectives, changing verbs to use language more conducive to the brand. And then B, adding in stories, metaphors, etc. that the brand would use or the persona or even the founder from the brand would use. This is where you really add in the brand voice and build on brand pillars. So next is step 5, optimizing formatting. And again, this is something that not only A, beginners, but B, AI struggles with. And that is, it spits out copy that is paragraphs of text with multiple sentences within paragraphs, and especially within email marketing or honestly within most copywriting or most situations, having paragraphs of text, having large bodies of text isn't conducive to getting higher conversions and getting people to actually read through the whole body of text. Nowadays, people's attention spans and their ability to read through thick, dense bodies of text is greatly diminished. And people need a lot more smaller, punchy lines of text in order to pull them through the whole body of copy. Actionably, it looks like this. Only use short paragraphs or break up your paragraphs within your copy into multiple sentences and multiple lines. Really, there's no excuse to have paragraphs of copy that are 3 to 5 sentences long. Even though it may be grammatically correct to have sentences that are based around the same idea within one paragraph, actionably, it just doesn't work within copywriting and people fall off and they don't read the entire body of text. So aim to keep your paragraphs only one sentence long, with the sentences only spanning across 1 to 2 lines. As soon as people start seeing lots of text bundled up across 3, 4, 5 lines, either they can't be bothered reading it all or the brain sees the amount of effort that it will take to read all this and it just says no. And they bail. Now, this is especially important within the lead of any email marketing especially, but any other advertisement or advertorial or sales letter, you need to ensure the first few lines within the lead are very short and very punchy and very easy to hook into. Really, the first 1 to 5 lines or 1 to 4 lines should be single sentences that are short, punchy, and get people to start reading with the lowest barrier to entry or the lowest commitment possible. Now, next is visual formatting. So visual formatting is something that, again, people aren't using as much as they could be. It is a more sort of direct response sort of strategy, and it's something that is used a lot more within the more hardcore marketing spaces, but using just the foundations or the basic levels of formatting within your copy can be extremely effective, especially within email marketing. So how we use it is we'll use bold formatting to highlight the main benefits or the main key points within the email or within the body of text. A good way to sort of approach this is to ask yourself, if someone was to only skim through and read the bolded parts of your copy, would they get the main idea of the copy or the text and still have enough information to decide whether or not they want to click the call to action? Next is underline. So we'll use the underline formatting to highlight the facts or the main data points or the main key points of the email. We'll also pair it with bolding to really make the main 1 to 3 ideas or benefits or points of the email stand out, but we'll use it just a little bit differently, focusing more on facts rather than statements, benefits, proclamations, etc. Next is italics. So we actually like to use, or I personally like to use italics for A, quotes, B, questions, and then 3, standalone points of copy that aren't necessarily supposed to be within that part of the copy or doesn't fit in. So if we need to throw something into a segment of the copy that doesn't fit within the rest of the structure or the flow of copy, we'll put it in brackets and we'll put it in italics just to sort of underline that this isn't a part of the copy or a part of the storyline, but it's a fact or something that we need to tell you. And last, step 6 is final checks. This is something that's extremely important for really avoiding any mistakes or sending out any copy or making live any copy that has errors in it. Really, this comes down to just don't be lazy. Take the time to check for spelling errors, grammar errors, spacing errors, formatting errors, etc. Don't be lazy. Check your copy multiple times and ensure you're not putting copy out into the world for your brand or for your clients that has errors in it. It's just unprofessional. Actionably, it looks like doing this, or at least this is how we do it. We'll put the final through text-to-speech to again make sure there's nothing left that hasn't been called already. We'll use grammar and spelling softwares, so Grammarly, and then the native spell check softwares or third-party spell check softwares, just to really make sure that we're not sending out any spelling errors or any grammar errors. Also, a point to note here is to make sure that the spelling that you're checking for is conducive or aligns with the country or the region of which you're writing in. So a good example of this is using US versus UK English. If you send copy to the US people and have UK copy conventions and it's a US brand, etc., when the customer reads the copy, it just sets off an alarm. It's like, these guys aren't actually one of us. These guys aren't from the US. And really, it just gives a taste of distrust and dishonesty or inauthenticity in the copy. The next bit here is readability. I'm going to cover a tool that you can use, especially if you're a beginner copywriter or looking to better your copywriting. A tool called Hemingway Editor is a free tool or free software that you can use to analyze your copy and see what parts of your copy are easy and hard to digest or hard to consume. So the software looks like this, and it will not only spit out a reading level for the readability of your writing, so it's actually been tested and studied across marketing and across the direct response marketing world especially, but they run an analysis of all the highest converting marketing, copywriting and sales letters, etc. And they found that the highest converting copy across all niches, high ticket, low ticket, sophisticated, unsophisticated markets were at a 3rd grade reading level or below. So this really just reiterates the importance of writing easy to consume copy and not trying to sound more sophisticated level of writing for the sake of it to quote unquote seem smarter. People just want easy to read copy that doesn't take any effort. So by using this, you'll see there are parts of your copy that are hard to read, and you can go through and edit these blocks of copy to get them to a point that they're easier to read. And then eventually you can just start getting the entire body of copy down to lower grade reading levels. Lastly is just spacing. So this is a small error that I see happen all the time, especially within accounts that we audit for other brands. I see other agencies make this mistake constantly, and that is they leave double spaces within their copy and within their marketing. So an easy way to fix this is just to go Control F and search double space, because double spaces are something that you won't see. Like a lot of times people won't catch it with their eyes and reading the copy, but especially when it's put into the marketing channel or it's formatted into the email or into the website or whatever, a lot of times it can look clunky and messy and this doesn't look good. So it's an easy fix. Just search double spaces and remove them all. Furthermore, when it comes to finalising and checking copy, this is a checklist that you can use or put at the bottom of the document that you're using or that you're writing a copy in to make sure that you check all these things and you don't ever miss anything. One more thing here is we'll add in, or I recommend adding in any words, terms, or brand specific language that you have been getting wrong in the past or you've made errors with or you need to look out for. So this is just a reminder to check those words, check those sentences, or check those terms to make sure that you don't make any errors. And then again, final read. Ideally, you do your final read of your copy with fresh eyes, as in half an hour or more apart from when you did your last final read or your last edits or etc. But this is just one last step to make sure that everything's good. Alternatively, you can get someone else to read it. It's also a good practice. The bonus tips / personal favorites that I use for editing copy is to minimize distractions. So I like to have only the copywriting document open on my monitor, single monitor, right in front of me with no other documents or anything open. And I'll remove any external distractions. So I'll turn my phone off, put it in a different room. I also want to make sure that I'm really focused in on the copy and I've got no distractions whatsoever. Next is narrowing my field of focus. So this is something that I actually heard from an Andrew Human podcast a while ago, but he talked about some study where they tested how people thought when they had narrow versus wide fields of focus. So by doing things like putting a hat on or wearing a hood and narrowing your field of focus, your brain starts to pay attention to the more minute details or the smaller details of things as opposed to thinking more big picture. So for example, the opposite of this is if you stand somewhere expansive or look out at somewhere with a wide view or a dramatic view where you can see where this might be on top of a building and you can see the whole horizon, then that puts your brain in a state more conducive of thinking about big picture stuff and big picture strategy. So the opposite of that is narrowing your field of focus, and wearing a hat or wearing a hood honestly helps me to focus in on the minute details and not miss a thing when it comes to spelling errors, grammar errors, formatting errors, anything like that. Next is stimulants. I love using nicotine for this. For me, it just pairs perfectly with doing any sort of where I'm looking to focus on attention to detail. And lastly, is just work in a quiet environment. Again, no distractions at all. Now, the last point I want to make here is if you are writing something that is especially important or especially high leverage, such as a VSL, a webinar, or any sort of paid advertising or email that you're going to send a lot of traffic to, like a disproportionate amount of traffic to or attention to, as compared to the rest of your copywriting or marketing, then it's worth spending a disproportionate amount of time on this copywriting or on this marketing. So the way to get the best copy or to write the best copy that you can possibly humanly write yourself is to do multiple rounds of editing. So this looks like revisiting and rewriting and editing the whole body of copy 3 to 5 or even more times. Really, if you can get to a point where you look at the copy that you've written and you cannot honestly find anything that would improve the copy, then you've done it. But to get to that point, I honestly would take 3 to 5 plus rounds, and you need to space these rounds out by doing it either early in the day, late in the day, or day by day, or over a week, etc. If you try to edit copy like this again, all in a row, then you don't come at it with a fresh mindset or with a different state, and you won't find any room for improvement because you're thinking the same way that you're just thinking when you edited the last round. But if you come in with a fresh brain state, with a fresh mind, you'll catch things and you'll have new ideas that you didn't have previously. Yes, it requires a lot more work and a lot more time, but if it's especially important, then do it. It's worth it, and this is how you get the best copy that you can possibly write. So that's everything. I'll leave this document in the description below again for you to access. And if you have any questions about this at all, feel free to ask me. If you want to see more copy edits / copy tips like this, then feel free to comment below, because I honestly love copywriting, and the whole idea of copywriting and the written persuasion side of marketing is probably my favorite aspect of marketing to talk about and to cover. So I'm happy to talk more about that. But if you have any questions about this specifically or anything you'd like to ask me, feel free to leave them below in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like, and until next time, cheers.